That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about John Wick, Chapter 4, directed by Chad Stahelski. His fourth film, because of course he co-directed the first John Wick and has since spent his time continuing to direct John Wick films. Lionsgate is releasing it March 24th, 2023.
I have seen all four now. I don't really... They all blend in together. I know the first one involves a dog. There's a dead wife. Halle Berry's in one. Angelica Houston's in one.
And John
are they in the same one?
Parabellum.
Oh, okay. From what I recall, the last one, John Wick is like excommunicated from this... what would you call the thing he's a part of? They call it the table.
Yeah,
or that they're under the table.
This organization.
Yeah. That's the word.
That's run by the High Table.
So in the last movie, he's excommunicated from his family because he assassinated someone somewhere he shouldn't have. So in this film, he has done it again. He has killed someone high up in the organization.
An elder.
Thinking that will get his freedom, but it doesn't. In fact, it brings wrath upon the New York Continental. So Winston, the manager of that hotel, his hotel is destroyed, like imploded because of John Wick's actions. So Winston tells John Wick, well, there are two things you can do. You can either die or you can fight for your freedom. And you can do that by challenging someone high up in the organization to a duel. And if they accept that duel, which they have to, then you can fight for whatever you want, like your freedom. But the gag is, you have to be part of a family. Like, they have to sponsor you. This movie is long as hell. It's like damn near 3 hours. So, like...
And you're leaving out that Ian McShane's Winston is so invested because the Continental has been imploded.
I just said that.
Oh, by...
The organization, specifically, they have given, like, ultimate power to this one character named the Marquis, who's played by Bill Skarsgård.
There you go.
So... There's 45-minute segment of this movie where John Wick has to go to Berlin to try to get back into that Russian family he was excommunicated from. He is successful. Then Winston goes to give the Marquis, Bill Skarsgård, the official challenge. It's accepted. And then the final hour of the film is from the time when the challenge is accepted to when they actually have to perform the duel at sunrise. That several hour gap throughout the entire film, and even from the last film, there's been a bounty on John Wick's head. And Bill Skarsgård wants John Wick dead because I think he's afraid of him. So he's increased the bounty. So the last hour is everyone trying to kill John Wick before he can even get to the duel.
Sound familiar?
But he's successful in getting to the duel. So there are a few auxiliary characters. One is someone called Mr. Nobody, played by...
Shamier Anderson.
He's another, assassin who is fixated on John Wick and wants to kill him, but he doesn't want to kill John Wick until the bounty gets to, this astronomical number. So throughout the film, Mr. Nobody is kind of, helping John Wick stay alive to the point where he can say, give me $40 million and I'll kill him. So that's what that guy's doing. Then they've hired, Bill Skarsgård's character has hired another assassin, this guy named Caine.
Played by Donnie Yen.
Who's blind.
Ip Man.
To kill John Wick. But in the end, so we get to the duel, and then there's another gag. Bill Skarsgård's character is allowed to nominate someone to perform the duel for him. So he nominates the blind guy.
And they were actually... Caine and John Wick used to be past friends. There's also a death of somebody in Osaka that's notable that
we can
was
get
also
to
a friend. But that Donnie Yen is also doing something like Shamier Anderson, where he has to help John Wick stay alive to the duel because by being in this duel, if he wins, he will have freedom from the table.
He will also get his freedom for himself and his daughter.
And his daughter, who's kind of being held hostage.
So the duel happens, and it's they have to shoot pistols at 30 paces, and then if one of them doesn't die, 20 paces, if they don't die. So they go through 3 rounds, and the blind guy shoots John Wick, we think fatally. So then, of course, Bill Skarsgård is like, give me the gun. I want to do the final blow to the head. And that's when Winston goes, "You are so arrogant. Did you not realize that John Wick never took his final shot?" And then John Wick kills Bill Skarsgård. And then the final scene of the film is Winston and Laurence Fishburne, who I don't understand why he's back.
The Bowery King from New York is.
We need to talk about it. They're both standing at John Wick's grave, which is next to his wife's. And they're like talking about, do you think he's in heaven or hell?
Who can tell?
Who can tell? And they kind of snicker the end. But considering that John Wick 5 is in pre-production, I would assume that John Wick is not dead.
Probably not.
Because also, I'm assuming in the next movie we're going to find out that they kind of faked his like burial. Now that he's a free man, he's going under a different name or something.
Well, because we meet John Wick in 2014 as he has been retired himself for this woman he's loved who dies of cancer or whatever. So I'm assuming he wants to be out of the game.
My first note is this shit is ridiculous. But, so here's the thing.
It is. It definitely is.
I mean, I can't think of a more beautifully shot film. I mean, there are some shots that are so gorgeous. I love the way everything's lit. It just all looks so beautiful. The fight choreography is, I mean, is there better fight choreography?
It's top notch.
I mean, it can't get better. Mm-hmm. The problem is the shit is long. There's no acting happening from anyone. Like, there is no acting. It's just fighting. It's like from one fight scene to the next. And after like an hour, I just got so bored. And it's a shame because there are some really cool scenes. Like when they're in Berlin fighting in this nightclub where it's raining. Mm-hmm. The final scene of John Wick getting up to the duel, he has to go up like 227 steps. And he gets to the very top after fighting all these people, which we can talk about more. But when he gets to the top, he falls all the way back down. Mm-hmm. And I almost got up and left. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it anymore. It's just so tedious. And it's like...
Well, I think the problem is there are no peaks and valleys. No. It becomes very monotonous. And it doesn't help. There's really no character development.
No.
I think what I like about Parabellum... I probably liked this film more than you did. But what Parabellum gives us is that like we get a Halle Berry or Angelica Houston where I can kind of glom onto someone else of interest. And there's only like one female character in this. And... there's nothing really to grasp onto, so it feels like we're just kind of slipping around in the same repetitiveness, and it gets boring.
So the Marquis, Bill Skarsgård, has his like main assistant who goes to New York to tell Winston, like...
that's Clancy Brown. Mm-hmm.
To tell him, like, your time's up, and literally puts an hourglass on the table, and it's like 1 hour, and then you need to go see the Marquis. And then... basically the Marquis tells him like, my patience with you is represented by this hourglass, and when it finally goes empty, the New York Continental explodes. That's also when we meet Bill. Okay, so I really like Bill Skarsgård.
He's okay.
I was so confused by his accent.
This is worse than Nicole Kidman's Russian accent in Nine Perfect Strangers.
Because at first I thought he was German. And then it hit me because he lives in Paris.
He's the Marquis. Mm-hmm.
And he's the Marquis. It finally hit me like, oh my God, he's doing a French accent.
It's terrible. It's really bad. Every line out of his mouth, I'm assuming he was practicing that accent. And no one bothered to tell him that this, unless they want it to be purposefully terrible. But I found it takes me out every scene he's in. I don't like.
Okay, so Osaka, the manager of that hotel is played by the guy from Bullet Train.
Hiroyuki Sanada,
So he's also friends with John Wick, and that's how the blind assassin knows to go there, because he's like, well, John Wick doesn't have any friends except, this one.
No one left that would harbor him.
Right. So I thought that scene was fun, kind of. But again, it's just it's like 30 minutes of fighting, but... the soldiers who come in to attack the hotel, I thought looked like characters from the Return to Oz.
Yeah, I got a Wizard of Oz Flying Monkeys feel from it. And I think the hourglass thing too also was giving me Wizard of Oz vibes.
I do think that the John Wick movies, since I've now seen them all, I think they do a good job of blurring the line of like, I don't think it's supposed to be like, this is modern day... like it's kind of like an alternate universe.
I think for the first time I really was thinking watching this one as it washed over me this is like urban kung fu spaghetti western. This is Sergio Leone / a John Woo mashup. Because Keanu Reeves is very much Clint Eastwood, the man with no name almost, even though he clearly has a name, but the way he has absolutely no dialogue is kind of a trademark of this.
It's
franchise.
in Osaka we see Caine, the blind guy, like fighting, which I thought was well done because he's kind of humorous too because we see him like hiding in a corner eating ramen, and finally one of the guys like, "Can you help us?" And he gets out and starts fighting, and I thought that was really well done. He has a moment where he sets up these devices
that make doorbell sounds.
But at first you're like, what is this? Are these bombs or like motion sensor? They're literally doorbells. So that you hear doorbells go off and that's how he knows to start fighting. Again, it's a shame because there are like 3 or 4 scenes that I thought were super well done, but I was so exhausted as a whole that I feel like they don't have as much impact. I kind of wish in between the 4 really amazing fight sequences there was actual storytelling happening and acting happening.
I think there's technically even more than 4. There's so many happening. I'm forgetting whole swaths of film.
There's the Osaka one with the blind guy fighting. There's the like they're in Paris in the round with the
Arch of Triumph.
They're in the stairs. There's that one where he's like, we get a shot that looks like we're looking down into a dollhouse.
Yeah, I like that. Looks excellent. That reminded me kind of a scene in James Wan's *Malignant* as well. We get that kind of aerial view. That's like as if you're in the roof and you're seeing in different rooms while things are going. Yeah, it looks excellent.
Yeah. We see Keanu. So I think he does a fantastic job with the fighting. But it's all very similar. You know, he has that Kevlar suit, so he's constantly like doing this thing, and like all the moves are very similar. So after a while it gets boring. We do see him have nunchucks, which I thought was fun.
But again, and I think that was my problem with John Wick Chapter 2. That was almost all just that. And this one feels a little more expansive than that, but I can only see so many people shot point blank in the head before I'm seriously desensitized.
Yeah.
It has no effect on me by the end.
I really didn't like the character of Mr. Nobody. I just found him annoying.
I thought I like Shamier Anderson. Again, there's this subtext of the dog and animals and.
I thought that was annoying. So Mr. Nobody's carrying this book that he's like handwritten a lot of symbols and sketches of different people and taking notes, and we see in the book that he's keeping track of how much the bounty is on John Wick, and his goal is to get I think 50 million, and then. I was confused, like, how is Mr. Nobody... He's locating John Wick. But he doesn't appear to have any assistance. So who's helping him? Like, John Wick suddenly goes from New York to Berlin, and then Mr. Nobody's right behind him.
Yeah.
Like, how did he know to get there? I don't...
You get this 10-hour flight, most likely connecting, because you almost always have to connect to get to Brandenburg. But I think that Donnie Yen is one of the more fun supporting characters, but also it's kind of that Zatoichi blind swordsman thing that they're playing on that... there's a lot to do there, and I think he could have been utilized more.
I think my favorite segment is when John Wick is in Berlin, because first he visits his old family, and they let his ass have it before he convinces them to help him. And then we find out that they actually set his ass up, because the lady in charge who took over for Angelica Houston, I believe, she's...
Katya, played by Natalia Tina, who's from Harry Potter.
I liked her because she tells him, like, you want me to help you? It's because of you someone who I cared about was murdered. And he's like, well, I can help you. We have the same enemy. And she's like, you go kill the guy who killed the person I cared about, and we can talk. So he goes to this nightclub, and there's this big old fat man with gold teeth that were crooked, and they were driving me so crazy. But I thought that was a really fun character. And then he does end up killing this guy in this nightclub that has fire and rain, and I thought the score was really fun.
Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richards. Yep. The music has always been kind of a staple of these films as well.
There's a character from his family, like the Russian family, who take John Wick to the fat guy with the gold teeth, and he's kind of like I am Groot, because all he says is I am Klaus. I thought that was fun.
And the dialogue that I think Ian McShane probably has the best lines.
Winston?
Yeah. Not even you.
He's fun to look at,
Not even you can kill everybody. And he's kind of got this bitchy little flair to him.
Yeah.
And you forgot that the concierge Charon gets killed.
Oh, that's right. He gets killed trying to kind of defend Winston.
Lance Reddick.
But I did like in the end, like Winston honors him. Like he says, like on his tombstone, I couldn't think of what to say, and I finally realized I just put friend because he was a good friend.
Which reminds me with that character's name of kind of the Greek mythological roots going on in this series as well, because I kind of wish that, like Parabellum, we would continue with naming the chapters instead of just chapter 4, because this could have been John Wick chapter 4 Overkill, or the myth of Sisyphus.
Getting back to Berlin, I was really annoyed in the nightclub because there is like fighting, shooting, people being like decapitated with axes, and we see the people dancing see what's happening.
Yeah, they keep going.
And they're just kind of like, oh, what's going on? So no one's running. And then when it's all said and done, and the big fat man's being killed and John Wick's evacuated, then you see the people running out of the club. For some reason, that really bothered me. I also was a little...
It just feels very Berlin. I don't know.
When the main lady for the Russian family agrees to let John Wick back into the family, she has to be branded.
Yeah, I didn't understand why she also needs to be
I didn't understand
branded.
that, because then it's like, does she have to be branded every time they let someone in?
Well, that caused me confusion about... I think I need to rewatch Parabellum, I guess, because I don't remember what faction of this family he got kicked out of. There's some confusion there, and you don't really... You don't really need to know.
It also
the
feels
details.
like marriage, how like you swear to be committed forever, but then you can get a divorce. Because even in the even in the initiation, they're saying like you're tied to us forever, nothing will tear us apart. And it's like, but didn't this shit already happen in the last movie where they threw his ass out? Why is Laurence Fishburne in the movie?
Nostalgia, I guess, and then of course, there's the Matrix connection with Keanu as well. But
it felt so out of place that he just showed up, and then he's in Paris helping. They're on the stomping grounds of the Marquis, and there's a bounty out on John Wick. And isn't Laurence Fishburne also isn't he in trouble too? Didn't they try to kill his ass?
Yeah, but I don't remember when, where, what, how, why. And he also just looks like he smells like pigeon doo-doo. So
and he's just in the bowels of Paris on his little boat shuttling John Wick around. I thought that seems foolish. Okay, my least favorite thing about the story was probably the end when the Marquis is trying to get John Wick killed before he can do the duel, and he's raising the bounty. There's this lady DJ playing songs to like all the people who are part of this organization, telling them like, you need to kill John Wick before sunrise. And she played like 3 different songs, which is how long this damn scene is, and they played 3 full-length songs.
I did like the French version of Paint It Black though.
They're good songs, but it's just so long, and then I just hated that. Like I'm so confused, like the entire city, because it seems like there are normal people walking around and they don't ever react, which I guess someone could argue that in this environment people have grown accustomed to it, or they don't question it because they're so connected.
Like in Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds.
But yeah, for some reason she drove me crazy.
Yeah, and that's also, there have been DJs like that in other of the John Wick films.
That's all I have. For people who like the other ones, I think they'll love this one because, I mean, it's damn near 3 hours of nonstop fighting. So
well, to me, these go down a lot better, and I don't know if it's just because I do like Keanu Reeves, than the 2 Raid movies, which really feel like a video game, if you've seen those.
I like Keanu too. He looks great. We just saw 65, and I think it's funny that Adam Driver looks very much like Keanu in this movie, like same hairstyle. And
I agree.
Yeah.
What's the Ned Kelly line that they keep saying in this?
I thought you wrote it down.
Such is life. Is that it? That's all you can really say about the John Wick films.
These movies aren't for me. I found it tedious. I wanted to leave the theater, so I would give it 2 out of 5 stars.
I really wish these screenwriters, Shay, Hatten, and Michael Finch, had managed to collaborate a little better and squeeze out maybe a more interesting story, because it does just feel very rehashed, but it is a very beautiful ballet of bullets and body busting, and the cinematography from Dan Laustsen, who has been nominated twice for cinematography for his work on Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley and Shape of Water, and is about to lens Sigourney Weaver in The Gorge. I will give it 2.5.
Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.